It's the finals of the men's synchronised 3-metre springboard. Once given only a 5% chance of survival, Chris Mere said, "Screw that," and made it all the way to the Olympics. But now, to win gold, he faces even greater odds, battling an almost unbeatable force. Wait for it.
I am not soaking wet at all, Olympic gymnast Niall Wilson. Let's dive right into our story.
Olympic diving goes all the way back to the 1904 Games, but it was nearly 100 years before someone asked, what if we took this already crazy hard sport and doubled the level of difficulty by having 2 divers mirror every twist, pike and somersault at the same time? Ladies and gentlemen, synchronised diving. Dealing with that difficulty may seem daunting to most, but to Chris Mears, after navigating the challenging twists and turns of his life, fine-tuning a forward 2.5 somersault with 3 twist dive was just another Tuesday.
When Chris was 7 years old, he transitioned from gymnastics to flipping into pools.
He took it like a duckling to water, and 8 years later, he was competing for Great Britain. But before his first dive, the 16-year-old had collapsed and had to be rushed into surgery. The doctors discovered he'd developed an illness that caused his spleen to rupture. Chris lost litre after litre of blood. His odds of survival were just 5%. That was all Chris needed, and within a few weeks, he was recovering at home. Until, battling for survival for several weeks, Chris was put in a medical-induced coma. Doctors said he'd never dive again. A few days later, Chris had woken up. The teenager who had just been competing at international level was practically bedridden. Once again, the odds were stacked against him.
Perhaps not turning out the way we thought it might.
Wait for it. But as soon as Chris was medically cleared to resume training, he rededicated himself to diving and chased his childhood dream, the Olympics. And 3 years later, with the Games in their backyard, he was ecstatic to be selected to represent Great Britain. Although Chris fell short at the podium this time, it didn't diminish the euphoria of catching what he'd been chasing since he was 7 years old.
He could have stopped there. Instead, it ignited a new dream. Olympic gold, something a British diver had never done.
Chris partnered up with his close friend Jack Law. They quickly became inseparable, which gave them a leg up on their quest to make a golden splash in the diving world.
As the rain increases in intensity here and the conditions worsening,
wait for it.
It's difficult to hide a foot-long scar wearing Speedos. This served as a constant reminder of Chris's darkest times and pushed him even harder to make Rio.
When the besties qualified for the 2016 Olympics, they were ecstatic. But before the confetti hit the floor, they immediately recognised the daunting task they had before them. Chinese divers had dominated the sport for years. Expectations in Rio? A clean sweep. 6 rounds, 1 dive each. Best total score wins. And after the first 2 rounds, who had the lead?
the Chinese, the leaders, again, as usual.
What happened next was anything but. In the 3rd round, Chris and Jack tight-tucked themselves into the lead. But the United States and China were nipping at their Speedos. The Americans were first up the ladder.
So here we go, we're back in business again. Last dive for the United States.
Wow, well done there.
How is that for mental fortitude? For the United States of America.
Yep, that's pretty close to perfect, and it put them in first. Great Britain needed a score better than 87 to retake the lead.
After coming back from 2 near-death experiences, all Chris's hard work has come down to these next 2 seconds.
Perhaps the gold medalist in Chris Mears, who nearly lost his life in 2009 to diving. And Jack Law, the first British diver to become a World Junior Champion. Is he about to become the Olympic champion as well?
They pretty much nailed that.
87.1 will take them in front of the United States, and they come up with a 91.2.
Totally timed to celebrate, right? Not so fast. Chris had to wait for the Chinese team's final dive.
I didn't think it was good enough. Really were.
This is the moment. Will it be Great Britain or will it be China? .22 is not good enough for the Chinese. It is Great Britain's day. They win their first ever medal in the men's synchronised 3-metre springboard, and it is Chris Mears and Jack Law who are going to be the Olympic champions.
And made history by winning Team Great Britain's first ever diving gold medal.
Chris literally went from death's door to Olympic glory. Cheers to Mears for giving our country its first diving gold. Thus ends another splashy entry into the stunning tales of Olympic triumph, with many more to come. You'll just have to wait for it.
There's no clapping. I'll at least get a clap.